Recently, there was a Clarksville, Montgomery County school system meeting. Let me get this off of here so we can do this the right way. This is set up for the Joe Padula show, but we got something, a little bit more serious matter to go over today. Yeah, there's that flag that I love. Beautiful. I don't care if it's digital. But yeah, recently, Clarksville, Montgomery County school system, well, they had their monthly agenda meeting. And parents are invited. They come on out. You know, they go over what is going to be happening in the school year, especially 2021-22. So you expect they get to be heard. Well, we got 5 parents to talk to. Let's say there's a bigger problem, and they got 400 signatures that's saying they are not being heard by the school boards. So let's interview them. Let's talk to them. Let's find out some solutions to the problems. That's all today on the Joe Padula Show. Absolutely.
He doesn't wonder what it's like on the ground in Afghanistan. He's been there, serving our country and defending Lady Liberty.
Absolutely.
It's the Joe Padula Show, Clarksville's Conversation.
Yeah. Sorry, this gets me pumped.
Me too.
This is what we used to roll out to in Kandahar, Afghanistan. We would leave the wire. Which probably wasn't a good idea because, you know, you want all your hearing and senses to be on high alert. You don't want to have, you know, glitch mobs, Seven Nation Army playing.
Adrenal hormones actually put you on high alert. So it's actually
adrenal hormones
and things like that. So if you get revved up, you're actually on higher alert. If
Look
you're
at the
too
pecs.
relaxed,
See the pecs? High alert. Here are our parents. What's up, Shawnee? How you doing?
Hey, good. How are you, Joe?
You
Thanks
are
for
a
having us.
mother of 2.
I am.
Mother of 2, and you were recently at the July 12th CMCSS Board Agenda Meeting.
Yes.
Dr. Dale,
what's up?
actual doctor.
Yeah,
You were a father of
not
4.
the drug dealer type.
That's
just
right.
The,
What kind of doctor?
I'm a chiropractor.
Chiropractor.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
it's pretty good too. I've actually been to his place of business and did a nice job.
Thank you.
Can't
Was
wait to
there
hear what you have to
yesterday?
say.
Yesterday?
No,
Day
that
before
was like a
yesterday?
couple years ago.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was. It was.
Yep.
He pressed down a little too hard. I farted. I got embarrassed. Never went back. My bad. My bad. What's up, Becky? How you doing?
Good.
You got 4 of them, huh?
4 kids.
And you were at the recent meeting as well.
Yes.
Okay, good deal. And Callie, you got 4,
I do.
and you were there.
I was there.
And you got-
I've been going
So you've been
Yes.
consistently at these meetings.
for the last 3 months.
Good. So you'll be able to fill us in on what the hell's been going on at these meetings.
Correct.
Okay, good deal. Casey Bryant,
Hi.
mother of 2,
Yes.
and you got
Only 2.
Your children are homeschooled.
Yes.
Is-
Well, yes.
Why?
Because I'm concerned about what's going on in the schools.
Okay, good deal. Good deal. Glad to have you all aboard. All right, so let's first go over the problem, okay, and then maybe we can figure out some solutions. So the problem, you don't feel that you're being heard at these board meetings. What's the process of the board meetings, Callie? Bring us there. How does it work?
Okay. So basically, the school board goes over set agenda items. Okay. There is open public comment, but you are not allowed to address the school board unless it is on the agenda item. And one of our biggest problems here, what brought us all here, was COVID-19 policies and how they have affected our children.
Okay.
And that's what I wanted to speak about. And I was denied. I have requested that COVID-19 policies be put on the agenda, denied.
So wait, you're saying that there was on the agenda, I guess they put out a public agenda for what the
Yes.
meeting's going to be
Dr.
about.
Brown has that.
Yep, right here in front
Yeah.
of me.
And-
Mentions nothing about mask policies, mentions nothing about COVID policies, but they spoke on it. So if it's going to be something that they speak on regularly, then they need to have it on the written agenda. If they do not, it's deceptive. They don't want people to request because it says public conversation, which begins the meeting at 6:02. Any person may address the board for a maximum of 5 minutes in bold. This is the only part of that sentence in bold on any agenda item. This is the written agenda.
Okay.
The title at the top says agenda. It does not mention masks.
It's not
does not
doctored or
school
anything. That's the
policies.
exact.
That's this.
The
This is
agenda.
the exact.
Okay. So
agenda.
and it had nothing on the agenda
Yep.
going for the
Nothing
2021.
in writing on the agenda.
Uh-huh.
So just to bring in a little bit, Executive Assistant Mrs. Long wrote Callie an email back in May, I believe.
Yes.
And during that, it said in the last 5 years there have been 8 requests for public comment. in a formal request. I mean, I'm sure there's been more that haven't actually gone through and done the written formal requests. In the last 5 years, there's only been one approved.
And you have to have those requests in 24 hours ahead
Right.
of the meeting.
Right.
And I've even spoken to teachers. They're like, you'll be lucky to get a hold of the agenda within 24 hours beforehand.
Right. And
They're-
so
Why?
Because
Why?
do you
Why?
think-
Why?
So they
Why,
have
why
to
do you think
approve
they're doing it?
And what you're going to say? How many of those
so-
8 requests,
Right.
public
Well,
requests?
those
were
particular
approved.
there was only one that was approved. But where this is kind of interesting is during that same meeting, one of our parents that was there had approached Mrs. Berry, who is the board chair, and she told that individual point blank, COVID is always on the agenda. But then when
COVID has
Callie,
never been
But
put
it's
on
not
the
on the
agenda.
written agenda.
and Callie has been told by both superintendents, the previous superintendent and the current one, that she was being denied because her request to speak on COVID
Was
not on the agenda.
And I
So we have
asked,
too much conflicting
like,
information.
let's put it on the agenda. Obviously, you have lots of parents concerned. Let's put it on the agenda.
What
I was told flat out no.
All right. Besides the agenda, what other concerns the parents are having? Like Becky, what are your concerns
My concerns
with
is
your children in COVID in the next school year?
there's two. Mental health is huge in our family. It has really affected my children. My son was there. He's 12 years old. He was there. He's in one of the articles. He was crying, not because I was going to get arrested, but because that's what people think. He was crying because
Oh
he
my
wants to go back to
goodness.
school. He just wants to go back to school. He's been home for a year and a half. And the other piece of that is I have another child who had a medical condition. And this is where I think it speaks larger picture of why we don't trust what's happening. So parents, even in the news articles, and have been saying, oh, they said there's no mask. They said there's no mask. What are you guys fighting for? They did this last year. We signed up my eldest son because they said it was, did they say it was optional? Or
It was optional.
It was
Yeah, I
optional.
remember the
But
parents brought
there
that up.
was a forced mandate on masks in schools,
So
correct?
after you locked in, so what they made you do, the school district made you lock in either virtual or in person. We locked him in as in person because they said it was optional for masks. Wasn't it like, it was like a Friday afternoon, they sent out an email right after they locked you in and said, you're gonna wear masks now. My son has a breathing condition. His doctor wrote a note. He was denied the ability to go to school without a mask on. He had to wear a mask even though that it literally caused further medical harm to him.
Right.
They told me, too bad, so sad. But because he was locked in, he couldn't go back to virtual. They didn't want to accommodate him in that way. He continuously got sick from wearing the mask. Then he was harassed because if you have COVID symptoms when you are at school, then they want you to go get tested and then you have to go into quarantine when
Symptoms.
literally
You mean like a runny nose?
a headache.
Right.
Yes, he had a headache because he has a breathing condition and it was
Oh, these poor kids.
and then he has a sinus.
imagine.
He has a chronic sinus issue on top of that. So he had runny nose all the time.
Yeah.
So finally, we were able to get a doctor that gave a blanket statement that said these are ongoing issues. They aren't going to go away. Please stop asking him to get tested. And they did finally leave him alone after that. But he was never given an ability to not wear a mask for his medical condition. He was discriminated against. And furthermore, the fact that I have to tell the school his medical condition is a problem. And that's where I think the bigger picture is we have medical freedom in this country. I know people have forgotten that because we've had it for so long. They don't remember what it's like not to have things. But we have medical freedom. And I should not have to tell the school my son's personal medical information. It is between my son, myself, and his doctor.
Well, of
And
course.
we
I mean,
decide-
civil liberties and
Yeah.
Constitution protects, those health rights of, whether you or your child. Okay. I don't know though.
Well,
Here's
I'm
the-
going to take point on this one for just a second, too, because essentially kids who have a medical reason for an individualized educational plan, actually for a medical reason, I believe it's a 504, not an IEP. I have two children that are both on an academic plan. One is on a 504, one is on an IEP. My oldest we always tease him that he's very lightly on the spectrum. He's got all the best qualities of Asperger's. That diagnosis in and of itself is really contradicts with these policies. I mean, he went through and he wore the mask every day. But man, it was a battle because the sensory issues that kind of presents are difficult for a student that's like that. One of my issues that kind of goes along with this is, yes, I mean, we've got the mask mandates. We now are looking at the potential with all the vaccination issues. Our students missed a significant number of days for school in person when they were pulled into a a remote format. There were a lot of kids, like I have heard from parents over and over that their kids were not even able to get onto the Power School and onto Google Classroom in order to be able to do their stuff. So
What is that? That's the Zoom
Google
classrooms?
Google Classroom is the platform that they do all their work on. So everything is on a district laptop. It was really interesting. My oldest son has an IEP his 504 includes his personal technology. So he was not on the school device. He's actually on his iPad, and he never had connectivity issues at all.
Interesting.
But my youngest went probably, when we were out for that third 9 weeks, we had so many issues getting that kid connected to the device. My middle school son failed every single class at the end of middle school.
Of course he did. He
And
wasn't
they
prepared.
Did not, and he is on an academic IEP. And my concern is when you have kids who have some of these learning issues, and even if they're not on an IEP or a 504, if this is impacting their ability to be successful as students, that is the mission statement of the school district, is to empower our children.
Well, then let's get
We're
back
not
to
empowering our children.
Let's get back to the meeting, okay, or the meetings. Callie, you said you've been going for the last 3 months to
Yes.
these meetings, and not one of these scenarios that we're bringing up was brought up or on the agenda for the meetings.
Correct. And I'm lucky enough that I live in District 4. Kent Griffey is my school board representative. And when I called him after I was denied to speak in public on, just like Becky, my son is struggling. Like, I want you to hear me. He actually read my letter at the school board, the first meeting.
What did they say?
Oh, they were not very happy.
Why?
Nobody said anything. And that's what we encountered this week, is that there's what, 40 parents with signs there this week.
What were the signs?
Mine said, "Why are you so afraid of public feedback?"
Okay.
Okay, because I've been going and I realized this is the biggest issue. But
But
they
what-
ignored us.
What is on the agenda? Dr. Dale, you got that agenda again?
Yeah, it
Could you read off those topics one more time?
6 o'clock convene, 6:02 public conversation. There was no public conversation.
Yeah, what does that
because
mean, a public conversation? What happened during the public conversation,
You get
Tom?
5 minutes to speak on any agenda item. That's the only thing you can do. So you have to request it, and you got to be approved.
And that's the one that
So
you got to
if they get the
request.
choice
You
to
got a
approve,
one- you
they
got a
can-
1 in
they-
8
we don't
chance
wanna
of getting
approve it.
approved.
Again, 8
Yeah.
requests, 1 approval. In
What?
the
Which
last-
one got
how
approved?
long?
What
How
got
long?
approved in the public?
Nothing
It's
before this one.
nothing for this one. This
No
was
one even
no,
got
they
to
let
speak.
me speak on
This is
last
previous.
month. No,
Oh.
last
On
month.
what?
Oh,
on
those
an
poor
agenda
people.
item.
Yep, on an
Okay.
agenda.
What would you talk about?
Well, it was on hiring the new interim director. So I focused on how the interim director should be listening to parents.
So you were
And
using.
I
you were playing
used-
chess. Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
But-
What? Okay. Keep going down that agenda.
Surplus property maintenance equipment, collaborative conference management team, depository authorization, memorandum of understanding review. At 6:05, policy monitoring, asset protection, emergency director of schools, executive order, request
COVID.
authorization.
No COVID.
Broden choice is academic offering aligned with Ready Graduate Initiative, student disciplinary appeal.
What is that?
Campbell
What is-
school liaison?
Student
County
disciplinary appeal
commissioners,
was just
board
something somebody brought
members,
up.
and
they
you
voted on.
adjourn.
Yeah.
That's it.
And
But
according
they
to
had Dr. Huffman, or Huff,
Huff.
Dr. Angela Huff, speak on COVID policies. She's
But
not
it wasn't
here
on the agenda.
anywhere. Yeah,
And they wouldn't
exactly.
take questions. And who is Dr. Huff?
Dr. Huff is the interim
Interim director.
superintendent, and according to Barry after the meeting,
Who is the board
who is
chair?
the board chair,
Uh-huh.
COVID is always on the agenda, but it's not on the agenda.
Not on
so
the
it
written
sends a really
agenda, so you
mixed
can't request it
communication
since
to your
it's not on the
parents.
Did,
Like,
did any
so
of
is
you
it on?
raise
Is
your
it off? Like,
hand
where are we at?
at the agenda
Becky
and
didn't
say,
raise her hand; she raised her voice.
Yeah.
No, I did. Hold on.
She
I
was
did
the
raise
disruption.
I have a picture of me raising my
Yeah.
hand.
Yeah.
Right.
all right, so, okay,
And I would like to also add in the article, it kind of made it sound like chaos erupted. Well, chaos
didn't
I
erupt.
was like, that was not chaos erupting. That was,
who did the article?
there's
Both.
been a couple.
Clarksville
If the board
now.
keeps doing
Oh,
what
well,
they're doing, if they wanna
exactly.
see
5-star
chaos,
always sensualizes everything. Yeah, of course.
So
Forget
I
about
want to
it.
clarify that was, if that was chaos erupting, they've never been through a really heated
Oh,
board
you-
meeting
you can't
before.
trust what 5-star
Wait till they
writes.
try to close schools and you
Cuba's
sit on the
chaos
board
right
and
now.
you
Yeah,
have 400
This
people show up
was
picked.
a peaceful.
That was not
Right,
fun.
right. So, okay, so the agenda's coming to a close, or getting to a point, and you're like, excuse me, there's nothing to talk about COVID, but they said COVID is always public, right? Oh, is always a topic of discussion. Without it having
They
to
said
be
that
written.
afterwards during just mingling conversations.
So what-
Oh, okay. So
What
Right.
triggered me was at the end, your representative asked about the retreat, and funny
What's
enough,
the dates of the
we
retreat?
had talked about the retreat prior. So he asked when the dates were the retreat. They said that they
What-
were.
what's a
Becky,
retreat?
clarify
Okay.
what the retreat's for.
It's like a
Yeah.
vacation. For
Okay, so the
board
retreat is where board members get to meet privately. I think that's under sunshine law. Is that correct? They get to meet like once a year to discuss policy. And that's when they said, hey guys, we'll look at adding open public forum to the agenda. But the school year starts before October.
yeah.
You know, we want it a little bit sooner. But that's what he was asking about.
All right. So go on.
And then they said that they said, I don't want to get it wrong. They said that they weren't going to give those publicly or something. Or
Yes,
they-
Dr. Huff said, I will give those to you at a later date.
But
Yes.
they are there's a schedule online. I checked it out. There's
Okay.
a schedule online that allows us to access that information. It's just kind of one of those things where you're like, you quickly open, that should be public knowledge. Can we
I
know those
said
dates? All
yes.
they had to say was, yeah, it's October,
Well,
blah, blah, blah.
And
Yeah.
having
could have been
served on
nice
boards,
instead.
I
It
also was a little bit disconcerted because really so much of that could have been completely alleviated and diffused had at the very beginning of the meeting, they stood up and said, parents, thank you for showing up.
Yes.
I cannot tell you how many times I've had to advocate for my children over the years and how many times I've had teachers look at me and say, thank you. I don't even need to agree with what your thought process is, but the fact that you're willing to stand up for your children when we have so many parents that do not actively engage. So the school board could have alleviated that a lot, whether they agreed with why we were there or not. Acknowledging that your parents are willing to put forth an effort to show up and stand up for their kids is kind of a big deal. And I am very impressed with this community that we do that.
Let's get
because
down
it's
to
not
it
always
real
the way.
quick here. Are face masks required for students to go to school 2021-2022?
Currently, according to Dr. Huff, it is going to be optional. Okay, it is
But that's
recommended
what they
by
said
the
last
CDC.
year.
That's the thing.
Currently.
It's recommended by the CDC.
Yeah, recommended,
that
right.
unvaccinated children would be required to wear masks, but it is optional currently, just like the mothers.
Wait, it's recommended to be required.
It's recommended for the children who are
And this
unvaccinated
is what
to
they
wear
did
a
last
mask.
year.
Right.
This is what
And
we're saying.
so last year, when parents had to sign their kids up for in-person classroom or remote, the night after, basically whatever timing, it was like
yeah.
after you signed your children up, because again, Becky's like, I'll go with in-person classroom because they say it is not required for my child to
Right.
wear a mask. At that moment in time when they signed their children up, it was not required.
It wasn't.
After they signed them up, within a day or two, it becomes required. They knew exactly what they're doing.
Of course.
In a
And
day
you
or two
couldn't
after
change.
parents sign their children up for that. So I guarantee you, mark my words right now, the CDC will come out with new advice in October, November of this
Yes.
coming school year and will mandate.
And then the
masks
switcheroo will happen
again.
The switcheroo will happen.
Now, what
It's
about
gonna happen.
vaccine?
Yeah.
Does a child have to show papers in order to?
They already do. To get into public school, you have to.
Unless you
have to
do a
prove
waiver.
unless you
School
do.
funding is dependent on them showing record of vaccination.
Right.
No.
Our
Yes.
schools, yes. I
No.
have
Yeah,
I have
100%.
Fiscus, who was like the vaccination director for the Tennessee Health Department, who's now fired because of her violating basically recommendations to physicians saying that you
Fiscus
should-
is fired?
Fiscus
Fiscus
is
is
fired.
fired.
Sounds like a movie.
because she attempted to say that mature minor law allows for vaccination of children without parental consent.
Yeah. I remember this
so
one.
she's
Yes,
fired.
Yeah.
yes.
So,
I remember.
but
Oh,
I
that's
have her
crazy.
on a webinar and stating school funding is dependent on not the attendance of children, how many children are there. It is dependent on vaccination records.
And you have that clip.
I have that.
Okay.
I have that image on my computer. It's a webinar. I have the video of her stating that.
So-
Also, you got to remember that public school districts are employers. So at the end of the day, so much of this also emulates what employers are doing. And like in Idaho right now, every single there is one of the largest hospital chains in the state of Idaho. And Idaho this is surprising to me for this area. They sent out a memorandum to all of their employees that if you are not vaccinated by September 1st, you're terminated.
Well, I'll tell you what.
So
Since
there's
we're on that
things
subject,
that
can I give
make
out
people
two
nervous.
statistics I think parents should be
Stats.
given? This
I like
stats.
numbers.
Okay, this comes from the Tennessee Health Department. Okay, this
Okay.
came from a committee meeting.
TN.gov.
Yep. COVID hospitalization in children 0 to 18. Okay, we have roughly 1.6 million plus children under the age of 18 in Tennessee. They had 370 cases hospitalized last year with only 8 deaths, according to the Tennessee Health Department. If the 370 hospitalizations are what occur in 1.6 plus million children, just 1.6, that's a 0.02% hospitalization rate. I have the FDA memorandum for children 12 to 15 years of age who received the COVID vaccine. Serious adverse events requiring hospitalization was 0.5%.
Oh, and that's where we get shut down.
Do the math.
For that
do
stat.
the math.
Right. It's numbers. It's numbers. It's literally.
One of these children is now in a wheelchair. They can't figure out what condition she has. And any child unblinded because of serious adverse events, the data is not included in that 0.05 or 0.5% serious adverse events. If they unblind them to figure out whether they received the placebo or the vaccine, that child's sacrifice is not included in this data.
And here's the thing too. I mean, if like my doctor, okay, says, Joe, you don't need a vaccine. You're good.
Because you're healthy.
Okay, you know, Joe, you do this, you do this, you do this. I don't advise you to get the vaccine.
Yep.
That's what my doctor said.
He's a good doctor.
So I don't want to get the vaccine. You know, and if a child's doctor, if a pediatrician goes, well, little Timmy, okay, you got this kind of allergy. And I was talking to a lady who has an allergy too, and her doctor was saying, listen, you got this allergy. Don't want you to get the vaccine. Fine. But hey, if you want to get the vaccine, go for it. But
Absolutely, and that's something.
Talk
that I
to
think
your
we need to
doctor.
clarify. It needs to be something that. And that's all we want. Is not. We're not encouraging. If people really feel strongly about it, that's your choice,
Well,
and that's the
But
thing. That's
here's the problem with that. It is your choice. It should be your choice no matter
Right.
what. It shouldn't even be a matter of illness or
Well-
allergy or anything. They don't know what they're putting into this vaccine is new, experimental, okay?
Well,
It is not approved by the FDA. So how do you know whether a child's going to be allergic
Dr.
to
Dale?
anything in it if they don't
I need to
have
bring
it?
you on the Joe Show where we go depth into vaccination stuff because I got questions.
Because I think this is the bigger, and this is what's happening right now, is it's becoming focused on anti-mask, anti-vax.
Right,
and that's
right.
what they did in the media with this meeting.
Of course.
And that's what they do. That's what the media does. That's what the
Oh, they
society does, is they
create
want to say,
fear and clickbait.
anti-mask,
Absolutely.
anti-vax, but that's not what the bigger picture is. What the bigger picture is that we as parents want to be able to, one, have a dialogue and a communication to tell you what our struggles were this last year. What are our children saying? What do they need help with so you can help them?
Right,
How can
because
we
if
help
that's
you?
not the goal,
what are
we're
your
wrong.
struggles?
If
How can
kids
we
aren't
help
the goal,
you?
we're wrong.
And then the other piece of that is, at the end of the day, what they need to remove is the anti-vax, the anti-mask. No, we are for our children to have medical choice with their doctors and us.
Right.
That is what we want. We don't want it to be up for public debate on our children's health. It's not going to be a clickbait. It's not going to be a talking
Right.
point. It's going to be, we as parents make that decision what's best for our children. And I am so over the idea that what I make for my child's medical decision is up for everybody else's debate.
Yeah, and it's none of their business.
it's really not.
But
Well,
that's
according
the
to
thing is that
HIPAA,
they require masks
Right.
for children who are unvaccinated. You might as well put a star
There
on
it
the
is.
shirt.
Yeah.
You are
Exactly.
identifying
Right.
every child who didn't get the vaccine.
Right.
and the psychological
And here's the thing
ramifications
is if
of
you
that are
study
awful.
research on politics and pathology, you create hatred towards people in the community who do not live the same way the rest of the community does. When you have an infectious disease, quote unquote, or parasite, it creates animosity and hatred towards those individuals. So we would identify children who are unvaccinated. That anti-vax slogan and word would be placed upon them. They would be bullied, ridiculed, and the number 2 cause of death will go up again next year like it did this last year, which is suicide in our
Suicide,
children.
right. I believe
There's a
heart
lot.
disease
There's
being
a
the
lot.
leading,
If
correct?
you
All right.
attempt to reduce the
Well,
what
we
is COVID to our children 0 to 18? What is the
It-
number
it's
in
a,
terms of the cause of death? Like,
according to
is it the first?
CDC, it is a
last?
99.997 survival rate.
But if so, you want to reduce the risk of something like that, but increase the number 2 cause of death in children. I'm sorry, not a good trade-off.
Not a good trade-off. But all right, we do got to wrap this up. And Commissioner Joshua Beal saying next school board meeting is Tuesday, July 27th at 6 p.m.
Can I add one more thing, Joe?
No.
I want to add one more thing.
No, seriously,
Can
just
we
a
each
fast
have
one.
more
I haven't been
thing?
able to talk. Can I say something real quick?
Oh, Casey's still
Yes,
here.
I'm here.
What do you want, Casey?
I just want to say I didn't chime in a lot because I'm very new to this whole thing. A year ago, my kids were in public school. I said I would never, 2 years ago, year and a half, whatever, I will never, ever consider homeschool. I wasn't involved, and I think that this is one thing that COVID has a benefit to us that has really put a lot of this to light. And I think a lot of parents are now waking up, hey, we need to get more involved. School is more than just a babysitter. And so that's why I pulled my kids out of school. I saw all this craziness going on. I'm still kind of in a place where I'm not as educated as you guys, and so I appreciate all of the knowledge that you guys bring to the table. But I know that there's a lot of people out there that can probably relate to me. They don't know the stats. They don't know all of the facts. They don't really know who to trust because we've been pushed back and forth so much. But I want to encourage you guys to get involved and start showing up to these meetings and surround yourself with people that are educated and do know the science and the facts, because that's the only way that we're going to win and that we're going to get make any progress, I guess, in this. Otherwise, it's just all going to be a big wave swooping over us.
Right.
Understood.
And two things.
No, two
It's
things.
fast.
We gotta
I
get
promise.
going. No, you're a
The
long
most
speaker.
important thing. No, listen. The
You're
most important
long-winded.
thing that we really want to make sure that we let them know. We are not here to have an adversarial relationship with our board.
Understood.
We
Right.
want to make sure that we can move forward. We've been asked a lot as parents to be team players and to do a lot of things and step up to the plate, and we've tried really hard, and we are just asking the
I
board
know, but now you're
to give
repeating
us
what
the
Becky
same.
said. Okay, moving forward.
Wait, can
All right, what was number 2?
That was number 2. I rolled
Oh,
it
that
all
was
into one
quick.
for you.
I
because
do
was
have one
trying.
more.
All right, yes,
And
yes.
I
What-
have, I have
What
to
do you got,
clarify
Callie?
Okay,
something.
one more. My biggest question after attending all these meetings and watching CMCSS
Right.
come and present, okay, at the board meetings. That's what they do. They have a department head present. Challenges from the district are never presented to the board. Teachers are not present. Parents are not present. So how
Who's
is this
present?
Right. It's CMCSS. I'm talking about we don't have a voice.
Yeah.
They won't let teachers.
And it's
Teachers
organized.
are
This agenda.
terrified.
What about the school
to
reps
speak.
that like
But
Kent?
Okay, they can, and he did speak up for me.
Uh-huh.
But what I'm saying is CMCSS parents, our concerns are not being addressed. So how can the board make the best decision for our children if our children's challenges are not presented to the board?
Becky?
Because the district doesn't
Right.
do it, parents don't do it, and teachers are terrified.
Becky, why do you think there is a disconnect? Do you think it's done on purpose? Do you think it's intentional?
So I want to be fair and give grace that maybe this is just the way they're used to operating, because to be fair, there wasn't parent involvement. People weren't showing up.
Yeah.
From what I hear, I'm just
I bet
saying.
not.
Yeah,
That's a pandemic everywhere.
So I can give them grace on that.
Yeah.
But when you have, like she said, when you have these parents show up, the least they could have done, if I was up there, I would have stood up and read every sign, whether I agreed with them or not.
Yeah.
I would have stood up and at least put it on the record, every sign, and said, maybe next time we need this on the agenda. Address. That's.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of having the conversation. When you're saying have parents come, or Casey said that, you don't even have to be on our side.
How
We
do
want parents
how do
to
board members
come
get appointed?
elected?
They're elected.
Elected? Who elects them?
Well, I mean,
Us.
We
and,
do?
And
Yes.
good luck trying to find when their election.
Exactly. I
You
have
can't-
no clue.
I've been trying to find it.
Well,
for
and they
days.
usually run unopposed. That's another
Unbelievable.
thing.
Well, I'll tell you what. We do got to wrap this up.
Wait, can I clarify one thing, Joe? Please?
Okay.
I was
Okay.
I
Wait,
just
what do you
wanna
mean you
clar-
were misquoted?
So in one of the articles.
And which one?
Oh, geez, I don't know.
Which what?
Clarksville Now or The Leaf.
Okay, so
one.
Leaf Chronicle, owned by Gannett, Clarksville Now, owned by
One of them.
Five Star. Listen, hey,
took-
we got to call you out if
Yeah.
you don't do a retraction.
They did. I was off the record and I was having a conversation.
Who interviewed you?
Oh, I'd have to go back and look. But they took something I said out of context that was off the record, where I said, when we did this in Texas, we made their life hell. I did not mean personally make their life hell.
Oh,
I meant.
but yeah, of course.
I meant, but I've gotten a lot of I've had some stuff.
No,
Yeah,
hey,
so-
don't
If
apologize
you don't
for
do
what
the
you
right
said.
things for our children, your
I
life deserves
meant-
to
Don't
be
apologize for what you said.
The context of my statement was, I just want to clarify, is we made their time at the board like, hey, we're all going to show up, we're all going to get organized, we're going to start making our voices heard. You're not going to be able to just show up and all vote and go home anymore.
Was the board in Texas screwing up? And you called them out on it? And you
Yes.
made their life hell? And they fixed it?
Oh, they fixed it in
Then
a
don't
year.
apologize for anything.
Yeah.
You're good. You're good.
All right.
Dr.
Well,
Dill.
I
Good.
didn't want to hurt anybody.
No, and two of my friends in the media, even my former employees over there, okay? Stop. Stop with your clickbait stuff, okay? Just stop. You suck. All right, we got to get out of here. Before we do go, hey, parents who maybe don't understand or people that don't have kids, first of all, I don't think you should be paying any school taxes anyway. But that's a
Amen.
different
Especially if
story.
we homeschool.
Okay, and you know what? Maybe that's how you really start thinking about it. So, Commissioner Beal and other county commissioners and city council members, man, homeschool's the way to go, in my opinion. But we'll talk about that another story. So thanks for hanging out with us. We'll do a part 2. We'll schedule another date, maybe prior to the meeting, and let's all go to the meeting Tuesday, July 27th.
Please.
Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Okay, minus Casey Bryan. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you, Casey.
You're so mean.
Joe
Never
Padula.
coming on again.
Thank God. God answers prayers. The Joe Padula Show. Absolutely.